All right. I believe we're live. I believe we're live. Let's see. All righty. Maybe. I think. Hmm. Are we live? Come on. You were just working a minute ago. All right. I think we're live. I think we are live. All right. Let me message inside of the Discord just to make sure everybody is good. And we'll get started here. We'll get started here. Let's go. I'm telling you, these I don't know how some of these Gen Zers do it, man. Don't know how they do it. Dr. B is live on YouTube. I'll give it a second for everybody to come in. And once we have some folks in here, we'll just get started right away. Get started right away. I don't want these lives, especially weekly market analyses, as we get this live streaming figured out here. And in the meantime, if you're rewatching this, go ahead and click the links down below and join Leverage University. We'd love to have you, or check out what we have. And thank you all so much for the support as of recently on our channel. I would love to get to know you a little bit further. And if so, if this resonates with you, awesome. So give it a little second here. Make sure that we have some folks that are coming in. And yeah, just make sure we're good. Make sure we are good. Shrink this a little bit here. All right. Perfect. Oh man, this is gonna be cool. Once we get this thing figured out, this is gonna be awesome. A lot better, in my opinion, of having this one-stop shop to come on here and do it live and do a weekly market analysis. So, if you can, just put in the chat. I can check the chat as well. Just make sure you put in the chat a one if you're here live with me, just so I can see you, say hello, all those good things. Just put a one in the chat if you can. That'd be great. And if you are live, and we'll get started. One in the chat will be great. Go ahead and hit that like button as well. Hit the subscribe. I think there's a heart feature as well on here, so would love to have you hit that as well. All right. Get my Discord people up in here, and then as this grows, hopefully some more people will be chatting, tuning in, and seeing what we got going. All right. I'll start in 1 minute. Start at 1 minute. Don't want to waste your time. Don't like my time wasted. So thank y'all so much for the support yet again. All right. Oh, me. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive, where I literally figured this out today. My man Billy, I literally figured this out today. I'm like, how are these Gen Z folks doing these live streams, man? How are they getting the banner across? I'm about to figure this thing out. I see Megan. I see Billy. What's going on? Oh my gosh, this is lovely. Let me know if I'm coming in clear. I know, with this platform here, live streaming, sometimes it's a little bit delayed. Am I coming in clear? How's the audio? Give me like a Brian. Sounds good. You sound good. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Do you like the setup as well? You like the setup? Hey, Yimmy, what's going on, man? What's going on? What's going on? If y'all are rewatching this live, you hear me chatting in. If you want to be a part of Leverage University, right down below, you can click that link after you listen to this live stream, where you can go and click it now. Hopefully, like the banner as well. And today, my objective for everyone is to keep us short, sweet, to the point, and ultimately go through this weekly market analysis from our economic calendar, our earnings calendar, and then ultimately like what my sentiment is for this particular week. All right. Loud and clear sounds great. Awesome. 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 Always improving. Always improving. I love being live too. It's just a different vibe, just different vibe. All right. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. I appreciate you so much for being here. Thank y'all so much. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, especially if those that are coming back and listening and re-listening to this. For those that are live, please make sure you interact. I'll be checking the chat. I know, so Gen Z of me. Checking the chat as well if you have questions. So go ahead and make sure you are commenting down below. All right, let's jump into it right now. And let's go over our weekly market analysis. All right. So let me make sure that I am sharing this properly. And we will go through share screen. Cool. All right. So you should see my screen here in just a second. Okay. And put a 1 down below if you see the market analysis, or excuse me, the market watch. Market watch. We good? Perfect, 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 perfect. All right, so we want to go over, and if you want to take this process for yourself, make sure you're taking some notes or just understanding my process of going through my weekly market analysis. This usually takes me about maximum 10 minutes or so, and going through what my sentiment is for this week, okay? So you can type in Market Watch and you can go over our sentiment, meaning our economic calendar for the week. This is our fundamental analysis that allows us to make a decision based on the data that is coming in for that week. So Monday, we have PMI, which is tomorrow. Monday, PMI, that is our index where we have our data that is coming in, telling us essentially our inflation data, okay? Our inflation data that's coming in, our manufacturing PMI, our services PMI. And all you want to know, especially for my beginners on here, is that inflation data is helping the Fed make a decision for where we cut interest rates, where we may pause interest rates, and sometimes, as you saw a couple of years ago, where we hiked interest rates, okay? So we want to make sure that this data, it comes in at 9:45 Eastern Standard Time, how that data is going to affect potentially the reaction of the market, okay? So how I typically trade data when I see data like this is I want to make sure this is 15 minutes after the market open, okay? I want to make sure how we are looking at this is either trading right before, right? If you can catch a quick scalp in the market, or ideally, here's the gold standard, is to wait till after the data reports and then react to how the market is conceptualizing the data, okay? On Tuesday, we have US retail sales. So our retailers will be affected. That's coming in about an hour before. So your Amazons, your Abercrombies, your Crocs, any retailer that you may think about, Nikes, Lululemons, right? We want to see how our retail sales is doing from previous retail sales data. The retail sales data, people are still spending. So it's coming in solid. So we want to make sure that that is still on a continuous uptrend, essentially, where consumers are still spending, whether it's on credit cards or not, they're still buying, right? That is a healthy thing for our economy. We have home builder confidence at 10 a.m. And then we have the big boy, okay, the big girl, all right, in a good way, which is Fed Power, our interest rate decision day, okay? How I like to trade, and I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently this time, because every time I'm testing my strategy on how I want to trade FOMC, okay, on Wednesday, okay, you want to make sure that you are trading lighter size, and you want to get in a trade typically within the first 30 minutes to maximum the first hour of that day. Otherwise, the second strategy, waiting until after he speaks, okay, waiting until after he speaks. That means the market closes at 4 Eastern. So he might be speaking for an hour, and maybe you can get a trade in the last hour of the market, okay? Anywhere an hour and a half to 2 hours before he speaks, and then right when he's speaking, there's a lot of fake outs. If you've never seen an FOMC, I highly recommend this week that you come in to Leverage University, our live trading floor, and see what it actually feels like. Or if you trade on your own on these platforms, since I am on YouTube here, if you trade in another group, that's great, right? Just make sure that you are understanding how this moves. He's making an interest rate decision, and in our opinion for investors, right, based on how the inflation data has been going and research, there potentially is going to be a 25 basis point rate cut. Okay. If that is so, we might have a positive reaction back to the upside. If he pauses for whatever reason, and there was a pause on the table, is that he may have a pause, which could potentially continue downward. All right. During this season leading up into Christmas, we call it the Santa Claus rally. So if you have not listened to my YouTube video here on this page, I would highly recommend going to listen to that. And the Santa Claus rally is typically a run up into the end of the year in a positive direction. Okay. And I will tell you as we go along this market analysis that that may be debunked depending on a couple of factors. NVDA is a little bit weak. We have some other factors in play that may be kind of conflicting. We have the small cap companies that are a little bit weak. We have the SPY that's a little bit weak. Okay. And our tech, there's some profit taking coming off of big tech, Google, after their big AI news recently. Right. So we'll go over through those when we get on the charts in just a second. Okay. On Thursday, we have GDP, and Friday we have PCE. So a heavy week. So if I'm summarizing this week, I want to make sure that I'm thinking lighter size, react, don't guess, don't hold too long, take your profits, right? And protect your account this week. Okay. You want to end off the week and the end of the year on a positive note. And there will be some positive setups. We just need to wait for that data to come out and then react to what we see. Okay. If you're trading options, make sure that you're putting a little bit of extra time on your contracts as well. Okay. So if you are trading options this week and you're a little bit on the beginner side, or you're maybe busy this week, you can't be as attentive to the markets, or maybe you might step away for a second, just make sure you look at that 27th date. If you can, if you're entering this week, ideally, I'm already focused on the January 17th options. Okay. January 17th, 2025 options, whether that's buys or calls or puts. So just make sure you're paying attention to that as well. All right. So put in the chat 5 really quick if we're all good with our economic data. Put a 5 in the chat. Let me check the chat really quick if we're good on that data. We're good? We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Awesome. Let's continue. Let's continue. I will check all the questions as we go along towards the end of this, but again, all my questions are typically answered inside of Leverage University. This is a market analysis. We're going to roll straight through it. Okay. Our earnings calendar this week. It's kind of funny that awesome that Earnings Whispers put a little festivity here. So when I'm looking at this, all I'm looking towards the end of the week is Nike. Okay. Some other notable mentions: Micron MU is in the semiconductor sector, very similar to how Broadcom this past week reacted. So we'll look at the Broadcom chart when we jump on the charts as well. So Micron is going to be another factor to how the semiconductor sector will be continuing through this end of the year. They have been weak. If you've been seeing every time NVIDIA is popping up, it's not really moving with the rest of the market. It's kind of just fading. AMD, it tries to get above 132 and got rejected and faded back down, right? So Micron is going to be another one. Broadcom doing great. All right. FedEx, another big one that we should take a look at on the radar. Their chart looks really good. So we'll take a look at FedEx a little bit. All right. Accenture could be something in the consulting space. So may take a look at that, but we typically don't trade it. So if I were to look at anything for earnings, and make sure if you're not familiar with how to trade earnings, go listen to that YouTube video as well. I have a whole video on how to trade earnings if you need a little bit of reminder. Micron, Nike, FedEx. And if you don't want to go listen to that whole video, we typically wait till after they report and then trade after. Before, we consider it a lotto, LOTTO. We don't gamble, we don't guess, but there are opportunities where you can put a trade in before their earnings. All right, cool. Let's jump into our charts where all the money's made. All the money's made. Okay, and quickly, briefly, all right, quick, brief interlude. Leverage University, make sure you click down below, join there. Would love to have you if you're already inside. Let the people know in the chat if you're getting value from Leverage University. It's not just trading and our trading floor. This is just a skill set. So if you want to improve your life, you want to be around professionals, if you want to have a network, and a lot of people are trying to do this life alone, Right? A lot of people are trying to do business alone, entrepreneurship alone, careers alone, relationships sometimes alone. If you want to just be around that energy, we'd love to have you. Here's a little bit of insight here. You can see that you're notified when we have any type of live training. You can see here our club rooms right there. And then if you want to have full access to our university, it's just that university access right here. And we have a community if you want to be a part of that. And then we have our mentorship. All right. Thank you so much as well for those that joined the boot camp. Amazing turnout, and then a lot of value that was given there. So we'll announce when we have another boot camp pretty soon. Let's keep it rolling. All right. Let's jump on the charts. Let's jump on the charts. All right, let's look at SPY first. Okay. Look at SPY. I was doing a little bit of insight here. I want to jump on the weekly chart and give a little bit of a review of SPY and what it did. Okay. And I'll start making some live trading for futures as well. I'll probably trade futures a little bit after this live stream. So I'll do that inside of our community if you want to see us trade after hours a little bit in the futures market. Okay. So one thing I'm looking at here is that SPY made a weekly lower high. Okay, when I'm seeing a trend change, I want to respect that trend change until that trend is broken. So you can see here that SPY has made a lower high on a higher daily and slightly weekly time frame. Okay, however, when we're looking on the weekly time frame, we also want to consider that we have not broken really this trend just yet. It's slightly coming out of this trend if you look there, but there's equal lows that are presented. And what that means is essentially these two bars here, these two candlesticks are essentially presenting an equal low around 603 to 604. You can see we closed on Friday at 604.21, and after hours we're slightly down. So congrats to everybody. When I signaled that we should be playing puts inside of our community, if you took those QQQ or SPY puts, you had well over 50 to 100% trade depending on the contracts that you took. Okay. So with that being said, I'm seeing a little bit of weakness that's coming in. However, we don't guess, we don't gamble, we react. That means that you can see that there is support sitting right here around 602 to 603 on SPY. So if you're looking for any type of continuation on the downside, meaning SPY is slightly weak, okay, slightly weak, like we just looked at on that weekly time frame. However, you cannot enter puts, or if you're trading the futures market on ES, you cannot enter sells until you have confirmation of one of two things. One, we get a retracement back up where you can confidently enter puts around or sells back at 607 on the SPY. Okay. If we get another lower high, maybe it fills this gap and we see another rejection or sellers step back in around 607. The second, if we break below that 602 level to be safe. Okay. So it would look very similar to this. So if we broke below the 602, maybe it leads into Powell. So Monday and Tuesday, maybe the data's a little bit iffy and we start some more selling into Wednesday. Okay. That is why I'm saying that take those trades on Monday, which is tomorrow at the time of the recording, and potentially Tuesday, and get your profits locked in for the week and say, hey, I'm going to chill for a little bit. Okay. If it breaks that 602, we've got 600 in play that we've got to respect. Okay. So again, we cannot hold trades, especially playing. If we see a big red candle, you're like, man, I'm going to get into puts, right? Or if you see a big red candle, man, I'm going to get into sells in futures. Okay. You cannot not respect this 600 level. So cool. If you get into sells or puts, great. Take it down to 600. A more confident break where you can hold a put or a sell is if it breaks 600. Okay. That is where the buyers are going to start losing some steam. Okay. So please put this on your charts, respect 600. As long as we're above 600 on SPY, we could easily push down into 600, fake everybody out, and retrace all the way back up. Okay. So keep that in the back of your mind is patience, react. Okay. I would ideally love puts. or sells, or that was a beautiful sell on Friday where we just got red candles continuation, right? I would love for it to pop back up, okay? Or break below 600. Pop back up into 607, 606, get a little weak, take sells, okay? Where would you take calls on SPY confidently? So if you're not a put person or a downside person, you want to look at calls. Two things. One, you get confirmation that this 600 or 602 is holding. Okay. It's a little bit high risk because if it pushes through there and you're into calls, then it falls a little bit more and you can't add. Okay. I like a reclaim. What that means is that if we get back above 605 with a little bit of a break right there, I could look for the next candle entry on a 5-minute potentially and continue back up like that. All right. Very similar to kind of what it did here. It pops back above this 605 level, then I can confidently take it for about $2 to maximum $3 back up for a nice $2 to $3 gain. Okay. So that would be the safer or more risk management trade on the upside that I like, is more of a reclaim versus trying to time the bottom here because it could keep going. Right. So I'd rather just let it fall or catch a little bit of scalp puts back down. Okay. That helped on SPY. Put a 2 in the chat if that helped on SPY. We're good on that. Put a 2 in the chat if we're good on SPY. Good on SPY. Let's keep rolling. QQQ. Okay. QQQ or the NASDAQ, the tech index, ideally, right? NASDAQ 100 or QQQ is stronger than SPY. Okay, so we have to treat this a little bit differently. So I like the puts or the sells or the downside on SPY a little bit more, right? QQQ, you can see it looks a little bit different, meaning it is still trending severely above this level here. Okay, it is forming nice bull flag continuations, pop, stair stepping its way up. Okay, so we got to respect that we can, if I want to play the downside on QQQ, I need higher, right? Kind of like this happened here. This worked out to perfection inside of our Discord. I gave the signal or the watch list of watch out for 533 and the highs of 535 right there for QQQ to push up into, and you can take those rejections back down. Okay. So again, if we pop up and we continue higher, right, I would still look out for this 533 and ultimately 535. It would look something like this. Okay. So I'm a little bit cautious as you see what happened here, where sellers are stepping in pretty aggressively. They're taking their profits for the end of the year. I'm still a little bit hesitant taking calls or upside even more on this. Okay. So I don't want to chase this push back up. I'd rather just react and say, cool, let it run, see where it falls, and then come back. If it pushes down, that's where I get kind of interested in potentially where is it falling to. Okay. So if you want my sentiment, personally, I am looking for the sell side of things. I want either pushes up, cool, or I want a fall down, because this was a little bit aggressive where sellers stepped in very heavily. If you were in calls, you got absolutely smashed on this. Okay. If you did not take your profits. Okay. Very similar to this as well. If you did not look at this and take your profits, right, and then the next day opens up, gaps down, right? There's staircase up, elevator down, staircase up, elevator up, staircase down, or elevator down. So it's a lot of selling that's coming in pretty rapidly, right? And I'd rather be a part of that than kind of this grind up on the call side or the buy side, in my opinion. Okay. I like buys in the futures market or calls if we fall a little bit further down into these deeper supports. Okay. So QQQ, watch out for this level. If we're below 526, we can confidently play puts. I would put those further out. Okay. Further out contracts. If we push even further up, I like puts up at 535 or back at the equal 533 level. In between here, I just need to see how it reacts. If we fall back below 530 and we start to get weak, I may enter a little bit of light puts and come down. Okay. So watch for this trend break here on QQQ and ultimately the NASDAQ futures as well. Okay. IWM. IWM has been severely weak here, not like in the inflation data that's been coming in. You can see it's rolling over here, trying to get back to this 527 level. Okay, so support is at 527. It may get a little bit of support at 530. You can see buyers stepped in right there. And ultimately, it's falling. And if it gets below 526, it's going to fall even further, probably down into that 515 level. It's going to get pretty aggressive. So let's pause right here for just a second. And I want you to understand that we have Powell. We have a lot of data. So do you see that based on the data, we could react either way? So if data comes in a little bit, iffy, right? It's not in line and the market starts doing this, right? Then we know what's coming. If the data comes in positive, then this easily could turn into a bull flag again. And I'm on SPY again, I'm just reacting here. This could easily fake out and come back up like this. That is what I'm talking about. If you've never been in the volatility of an FOMC week or a PCE week or a PMI, just a lot of things going on. So please be mindful that you heard it here. And if you listen to other content creators on this platform, that you're going to hear, be patient, lighter size, don't jump in and assume, right? But if we see it, cool, we can take it. But right now, my sentiment is we're weak. We closed weak on Friday. Let's continue with that and see if those sellers can continue, okay, on the downside. All right, let's jump into a couple of notable mentions. And one of the notable mentions, which is a little bit concerning here, is this NVIDIA head and shoulders, okay? This NVIDIA head and shoulders. Now, NVIDIA has been showing some promise all year long, okay? It is up tremendously 2024, and even after the split, up almost 200+%, right? All the way up to 152. Now, I wouldn't consider that NVIDIA is in trouble. I am looking at this as more profit taking based on a couple of factors. NVIDIA's earnings, the reaction to it wasn't great, right? Number two is that they had a little bit of stint, right, with the news here, which was around NVIDIA's, where was it? The China AI news. Don't quote me on that, but the China AI news, we'll keep it rolling. But that was a little bit concerning where every time NVIDIA popped, it faded, popped, faded. So it is, the sellers have control over NVIDIA right now. It went from higher lows, higher highs to now lower lows, lower highs. So please be cautious for those, or have your head on a swivel, as I like to say, if you're in calls on NVIDIA and that expiration is coming up, okay? You might have to cut it, or you might have to just say, hey, I need to pay attention and manage this week. I am looking for more upside on NVIDIA, but we cannot assume that this is going to either hold or is it going to break out. Okay, I've got two ideas on NVIDIA. Ultimately, we would love to see this. If data is positive, cool. NVIDIA could say this is a nice support, which it is. Previous highs, turn lows. Breakout, break back over 142 is my mark, right? Right around here, 141, 142. If we break out of this right here, then we can come back up and retest the high and take it out. And that would be a clean bull flag back up, right? But we've also got to be aware that if data comes in a little bit iffy, or if Powell just doesn't say something right, right, we could come in and this could be a head and shoulders, right? So head and shoulders, for those need a reminder, remember, this is the neckline here. We got left shoulder, head, really two head, double top here, right shoulder, and then this could continue, okay? So if that really 130, 129 does not hold up, it can go even deeper underneath 130 into 129, right? So keep that 129 on your mile marker, or if we reclaim and somehow get back above 142. So we're in the middle right now, okay? Now, if we fall, and we break below 129, it could get really aggressive. And guess what? That will get QQQ probably aggressive into this gap fill. That will start filling. So pay attention to NVIDIA on your side watch along with SPY and QQQ. Okay, both of those are going to start getting more aggressive in one way or the other based off of not only NVIDIA, but the tech sector. And I will go over the financial sector as well, which has been bringing SPY down. Okay, so NVIDIA, overall tech, that will go through a couple of tech names. And then we've got the financial sector. Pay attention to all of those this week. All right. Let's jump into a couple of tech names. Amazon and Google. Okay. Google, you can see here that AI Gemini news was positive, right? But now Google is overextended, went up to that 195 level that I had, 196. I think it got up to 197 pre-market before it started cooling off. Okay. So we want to pay attention that Google is now underneath 190. Now that it's underneath 190, we've got to look at that 186 level as support, which it had turned into resistance right here. So it's going to try to move down into that 186 level. Okay. Now, Brian, how do you trade these things? When I'm giving levels and inside of my university and inside of our trading floor, inside of our Discord, I'm giving trade ideas and the actual charting of these exact things. However, when you hear me say certain levels, you're reacting off those levels. So when I see 190 break, now I'm looking at it as resistance. So if it pops back up, see what it did right here. It broke down, popped back up, turned that into resistance, now continued. So if it pops back up, another resistance, it might continue like that. Okay. So these little pops, once it breaks a level, it's got to reclaim it and get back above it. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to get faked out and it's going to turn into a lower high. And you're going to be trying to take it all the way back up here. So be careful with these pops because it could be a pop and a fade back down. Okay. So we need some reclaims to happen before we can confidently take this back up. Otherwise, let it fall. Let it fall. Look at the bottom level of support of 186. And then ultimately, if it breaks that, if we get aggressive again, right, it could come down into that 180 and essentially bring back this whole move that it made right back to 181. All right. So I do like Google personally, just because it has a lot of room. There's a lot of risk to reward. If we can get a little pop like that, you could look at Google and fade it back down if the market is weak, if SPY and QQQ get a little bit weak. Okay. Amazon. I'm not liking what Amazon's doing up here. It's just consolidating, as you see. All right. So I need some more movement out of Amazon of what it's going to do here. And it's just waiting. Right. Google and Amazon have been some of the strongest out of the tech names as of recently. So when you have strength along with Apple, as long as you have strength right there, it can continue even higher, but it needs to cool off. So I'll be looking at this on Amazon. If it breaks out of this wedge to come back down like this into this 222 level first, right? So it would look something like that, where I have a nice support around 220 and 222. Okay, so look for that 220 and 222 to fall back down into. So that's about a $7 move if it can break out of this wedge here and then ultimately break below this 224 level. Okay, so mark these on your charts. That's your pivot point to take it lower, or wait for it to break out of the highs above 231 and you can take it up. Okay, so draw this on your charts, have this ready, or just look for a breakout above 231 if you trade Amazon, or a break below 224 to take it down. Look for that 220, 222 support. Okay. Trade it level to level. You can only hold runners, or you can hold longer if it breaks the deeper level. Do not disrespect these levels here that are coming in. And I see that sometimes with individuals where I'm like, hey, I'm getting out. They're like, what? It's like, yeah, there's support right here. So then they get caught, it breaks down, and then it pops all the way back up. Right? So you have to respect the support levels, and you can't hold longer unless it breaks down or you're holding a runner. Right? Cool. All right. Keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. Tesla. Oh my goodness. Tesla is an absolute freight train right now. It just keeps forming higher lows, higher highs. And personally, I am just staying away from Tesla right now until it gives me a pullback or something. However, Tesla is very volatile, and the contract prices, since it's now at this market cap level that it's now creating higher contract prices. So they're very volatile and they're more pricey. Okay. I used to be a extreme Tesla trader, and I've kind of switched over to NVDA. Amazon's been moving very well because Tesla, I just been letting shares ride, but Tesla's been forming some nice supports here. So um, clean chart, in my opinion, clean chart. So maybe trade Tesla if you get a momentum trade, but ultimately just know that it's a freight train right now, and you've got some clean supports. They're now turning in former resistance, clean support. So you can see here, pretty much 430, new support, came up, came back down, consolidated, used that previous resistance as now support, 430. So you've got to mark this level here. Okay, 434 to 433 on Tesla, to see if it maybe finds a nice round even resistance level, maybe at 440 potentially. Okay, if it wants to somehow get up there to 440, if the data and the positive news, and I think Tesla personally is trying to get to this 450 level. It's trying to get to that nice round even 450 level on Tesla, which is just crazy. And the wild thing about Tesla too is that the numbers on Tesla, if you've not been keeping up, right, it's really just the Elon wave, right? They're riding the Elon wave for the new year. That's perfectly fine, right? They're confident in the CEO. They're confident in his agenda and helping Trump and all those kind of things. But in my opinion, like Tesla as a company, they're trying their best to lower their car prices, getting more people in them. They're coming out with the new, smaller, what is it called? The Tesla Q, right? Model Q. So it's a lot of hype, a lot of new AI, but the numbers have to come in, and eventually Tesla will pull back whenever that is. But until Tesla breaks back below 415, it is going to continually use 415 as a support and try to get to that 500 level. Okay. Look at Tesla on a monthly. There's no sellers in sight, just continuously pull back, longs, calls, pull back, calls, pull back, calls. All right. There's a previous resistance turned into support, which is right around 416. Okay. Let's keep it rolling here. AMD. Okay. AMD is starting to approach a very interesting level. Okay. Very interesting level. I've been keeping my eye on this. I have not been entering AMD because every time it pops, it fades. Very similar to NVIDIA. Okay. However, I'm very interested in this oversold level on AMD approaching on a daily. Okay. Starting to get into this oversold RSI level down here, and got to look at it and say, man, this could be a really big 2025 move for AMD to make a comeback. Okay. So I'm looking at this 118 to 120 level on AMD. If it can get down into this 118, 120, and I'm even got my eyes on even lower. Like I've got my eyes on 100 as well, which is why I'm not very interested in jumping in too soon. You can pick up shares if you'd like, not financial advice, but you're more than welcome to pick up some shares, do your due diligence on AMD a little bit more, right? But after this move from 100 to 227, it's essentially 50% off, right? So it's worth taking a potential chance on if we do our research a little bit more to say, man, does AMD have something coming in the pipeline? Is there something coming up that I need to be paying attention to, and roll this thing back up above 165 and then ultimately back up to 200? So imagine taking AMD from 120 to 200. Okay. So keep your eyes on AMD, put your alerts on. That's what I've been doing. AMD, let me know when it's below 125. Let me know when AMD is back above 145, things of that nature. So pay attention to AMD here, pulling back into this 120 level. And then ultimately, if it can recapture back above, maybe with some positive data, the new year, whatever it is, right, making a run back up into the 150 and then ultimately back above 165 level. Okay. So got these resistances here, 132, 145, and then ultimately 165. Okay. Now, really quick, before we keep rolling along, and I'll wrap this thing up, I'll check the chat really quick to see if there's any notable mentions you want me to go over in this weekly analysis. And also give me some feedback. Give me some likes. Share this out with a person that you love or that you think needs to learn and hear. I'll be doing these lives and live streams more often. Maybe I'll do some live trading on here just as a fun thing, maybe a Friday, kind of just letting people in onto how we do things in Leverage University. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I finally got this thing kind of figured out here. So hopefully everything is going well in the back end. All right. Let me check really quick. Chat, and we're good. Love it. Love it. Join the club. Amazing vibes. Content. Checking the chat. Anything I need to go over? Anything really quick? Put some tickers in the chat. Tickers in the chat. We good? Appreciate you, Dennis. Appreciate you, man. I've got the Leverage University fam on here today, so I am perfectly fine with that. This will grow as we keep going, rolling along. And let me know if y'all like the setup. Give me some feedback. Cool. No tickers that I see just yet. All right, let's keep rolling. All right. Let's jump into some of the earnings. Okay, some of the earnings that we have this week that I may see some setups on. Nike, that could be one. Nike, that could be a sleeper. Very similar to kind of how Broadcom was. Let me show you really quick. Broadcom, let's go here. And I am so mad about this lotto. I have not taken a lotto, I don't think all year. Okay, all year. And I was looking at this Broadcom around 170, 180, and I was about to put in a $200 call as a lotto. Now, if you're not inside of Leverage University and you're listening to this in the future, whatever, please understand that we take calculated lotto, quote unquote, gamble trades, right, on earnings. It is not recommended unless you have guidance. Okay. So if you have a solid research plan, you're comfortable with the risk, you're like, man, the contract is $70. This contract, for anyone that's not aware, this contract went from about $70 to $80 to roughly about $1,500 to $2,000 for one contract. Okay. So you have to know the ones to do it on, and I will start calling some in 2025. And we'll start doing a little bit based on how people's accounts are. Okay. We're not in here to gamble. All right. I'll reiterate that. I do not endorse it or anything, but hey, we're in here to make some money. If we can make some money and take a couple of really solid trades and you have a little bit of extra, great. Okay. So you can see here that Broadcom went from 170 to 228. And if you would have just had a 200 call in, those 200 calls, you can see right there are roughly around $2,500. Okay. If I look here on Friday, or excuse me, Thursday before Broadcom, you can see right there, I'm hovering. That was $97 to $3,000 per contract. Do you see how, does everyone see how potentially these earnings can essentially just change your month, right? So Nike's one that we've tried before, and Dennis knows hey, Nike is Nike. Okay. I would say, in my opinion, if you do not have any Nike shares and you like Nike, or you think that Nike can recover, which I think personally we can say that Nike will, it's just, where will it go? Right. Will Nike have blowout earnings this Thursday or Friday? Excuse me. I think it's Thursday after hours and just go right back to 90? Or will Nike have earnings and say, cool, we want to go a little bit lower before we pop back up? So that's what I mean by keeping your head on a swivel. So if I were to honestly say, please do not take this as financial advice. This is only for my Leverage University members, or if you are savvy and you understand this, this is not condoned, all right? But hey, I'm going to give it out. If it works for you, great. Okay, this is under your own discretion. I would look at January 17th contracts for Nike. I would look at, probably on the call side, I would look at roughly around the 85 calls, and then ultimately probably the 90 calls, in my opinion. They're underneath $100. And if it pops, great. I'm not stressing about 60, 70 bucks, but if it pops and it goes to 80, 85, 90 potentially on their earnings, who knows if they blow it out of the water, those $70 calls could turn into $300, $400. Just saying. Okay. I don't know. I'm just saying that there's a possibility for that to happen. Okay. So I would take a look, go all the way out to January 17th, because it will still give you some time for that contract to recover. Okay. So I just want to throw that out there. Otherwise, pick up some shares, right? Pick up some shares, fractional shares, whatever. Okay. For Nike, if you do believe in Nike. Okay. What is the other earning? FedEx, really quick. Okay. FedEx has a nice channel here. I don't really see a setup where there's a good risk to reward on FedEx. Okay. UPS and FedEx have been taking some hits as of lately. So I'm a little bit kind of iffy on this one. It's kind of in the middle of a channel before their earnings, right? It could pop right back down on their earnings back to 256. I'd probably trade this post earnings. Okay, very similar to this. Do you see how FedEx was all the way up here at $300? And if you would have took an earnings put on FedEx, right, this was a little bit more risk to reward, meaning it was already at resistance. Cool. Maybe it could pop back down, but you see how it's in the middle of a channel before their earnings. So this 300 all the way back down to 250, you can already do the math of how much that earnings put would have made. Okay. But look at this nice retracement. Do you see that you can trade it post earnings? It took some time, but it went right back to fill this earnings gap. Okay. So I would say FedEx personally, maybe wait post earnings, see what it does. I don't see any opportunity really, and contracts are a little bit more pricey, as you can see here. Okay. Even the weeklies are more pricey. Okay. So maybe we'll see what they look like towards the end of the week, but otherwise, I would stay away from FedEx for their earnings and just kind of wait and maybe trade it post earnings. Okay. Now, Broadcom. What can we do with this? Okay. We need to keep our eyes on, very similar to Snowflake, we need to keep our eyes on some of the post earnings gaps that need to be filled. Remember Snowflake? They had a great earnings. They were all the way down here, have gotten beaten up all year. Earnings went from 128 almost to 200. Okay. Now they've got this big earnings gap that's starting to slowly kind of turn over and start to fill. Okay. So with Broadcom, if the market gets weak, Broadcom could start coming closer into the gap, but they had such good earnings that it could go and try to go higher. So when a company has really good earnings and a big gap fill like this, I like to give it some breathing room and give it some time, right? Because it may want to go higher and start to grind up, and you try to say, man, there's a huge gap fill, right? So just be mindful that let it push up higher, and maybe we could take a nice risk to reward back down for Broadcom. As you can see, their contracts are not too pricey, right? Closer to in the money, right? 150, 200, not too pricey there. So maybe we could take a look at Broadcom once it kind of settles in, maybe put some alerts on Broadcom and say, hey, is it below 212? Is Broadcom back below 212? We know that's where the gap fill starts. Okay. So we're going to look at that as a community effort, keeping Broadcom on tight watch if it cannot hold up those levels. All right. Cool. I think that's roughly it. That's roughly it that I've got. Went over everything, gave a nice game plan, gave a sentiment for the week. Right. Oh my goodness. Hold up. This is live and in action. Hold up. We got crypto running. What is XRP doing right now? Hold up. Okay, it's not out of play. I'll do a whole separate video about my XRP update. If you've not seen that, I'm getting a lot of questions on what is XRP, man? What's the next big crypto we should jump? Hey, looks like crypto's running. We got Bitcoin back over 105,000. It got to 106. Okay, so it is back running. Is Bitcoin Sundays per usual. Okay, so we got crypto running. So maybe this week, pay attention to some crypto names. We could have those popping again. The Maros, the Clean Sparks, it took a little bit of a hit. So I want to pay attention to some of those that could have a pop on Monday, since Bitcoin has been running. So pay attention to those. MSTR, it looks like a big bull flag here. It looks like it's back, going to try to break out back above 417 and run back to the highs. If it breaks back above 417, do you see this measured move right here? They could come over and measure it all the way back up to 445. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with how to trade MSTR, they're very pricey for their contracts. They also are very spready for their contracts, meaning the bid and ask is very spready. I personally don't like to trade spready stocks. We have some community members that love them. But that just means for those that are beginning, that just means if you enter into a trade, you could already be down, or you enter in a contract and you can't get out of it. Or you're like, man, I thought I was 30% up, and then you sell it and it sells you almost like at an auction price that's less, it's less where you want it, right? Because the bid and ask spread are so wide. That's why you see traders or investors stick to trading or day trading just their regulars, the Googles, the Amazons, the NVDAs. But if they can get a big move and they're comfortable trading some of these others, great. So here's what it looks like. Do you see, if I were to enter into an MSTR call, right, I'd probably personally be, more comfortable shorting MSTR, just going out of the money when it keeps pushing up and just shorting it with puts personally, or just staying away from it. Look at these contract prices. Okay. $1,600 and the spread is like 50 to 60 bucks. So if I get the wrong fill price on this, I'm already down 50, or I forfeit $50. So I know some of y'all are like, ooh, that looks good on the charts, but you got to know how to trade these or stay away from them. I'm just pointing it out that it's cool to watch. It's cool to look at. I'd rather have it push up even further and then short it again. Okay. Personally. But just know that crypto is running. Crypto is running. My final one, like I said before, I will go over a couple of quick healthcare and then finance, and then we're right on time. All right, finance has been a little bit weak, okay? And I've been telling my community members, especially for those this is a public platform. If you're not inside Leverage University, be a part of the family, right? But if I'm speaking just to my Leverage University fam, I've been talking about the financial sector, right? We called this out, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I think some of y'all took this trade on Wells Fargo. I said the finance sector, if it starts to get weak, there's a lot of gap fills below. So if finance, for whatever reason, continues to get weak, that's going to associate with SPY, okay? So that's how you can play that SPY downside, or why you're like, why is SPY weak? It's because finance, okay, is still weak. Okay, so if finance, you see what Goldman Sachs is doing, it's kind of rolling over here with a big gap. So if this starts to, keep that on your watch. I'll be keeping it on my watch this week. If I see finance getting weak and weak and weak, I'm like, man, I'm not trading any calls on SPY. I'm going to be taking SPY down. Or I might look at maybe if I can find an entry on some of these finance names, trading them down and giving them some time. Okay, Goldman Sachs. You can see Wells Fargo kind of approaching a little bit of support. So I probably need to pop back up on Wells Fargo, but a lot of gaps below. American Express, you can kind of see it's just kind of rolling over, staying up here. Bank of America, same thing. Looks exactly like Wells Fargo. Okay. Visa, right? Kind of hitting a double top here, a little bit stronger than the others. Where's JP Morgan, right? You can see here, almost to the gap fill, coming back to 221. Right, this was the gap from our election. This is the election gap. So this is a very, very important week where the Santa Claus rally could essentially be just done, right? There's no Santa Claus rally this year where we run up into the end of the year, and there's more profit taking this year into the inauguration, and then we run back up after the inauguration. Who knows? But I just know that right now we're getting some selling pressure until Powell comes out with some crazy news, or the inflation data says, hey, we're good. We're going to a great economy in 2025. Otherwise, I just see a lot of signals that are signaling more downside, at least for right now, okay, until it tells us otherwise and we pop back up, okay, and we reclaim some levels. All right, cool. That's it. I promise that would be it. Thank you all so much. Let me jump back into my main screen here, and I appreciate you all for all the good energy here on our first live stream. I wanted to make it professional. I wanted to make it just look good and feel good as part of our brand. and let y'all know that we take this thing seriously. All right. So thank y'all so much. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next live stream and also in some videos that we have here, and hopefully inside of Leverage University, where you can change your life, start your business, monetize your message, become a better thought leader for yourself, and ultimately gain this skill set of trading and investing. I'll see some of y'all inside of Leverage University. Maybe we'll trade a little bit of futures and get up out of here. All right. Lovely, lovely, lovely. See y'all later. Peace, love, and fam. Bye-bye. Link will be down below after this live stream. Link will be down below in this live stream. Actually, what I'll do, I'll put it in the chat. Let me see if I can put it in the chat since we're live here. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. Would love to have you. 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 All right. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. This is wonderful. This is awesome, man. Awesome. MSTR, Rico, shouting out some folks. Rico, what's going on? What's going on? Neil, appreciate you. Appreciate you. So that should have put that WAP link in there. All right. So I want to just make that, and then I'll go ahead and get this live stream up on our channel. All right. Peace, love, and blessings. See y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.